Hello, I'm Tom Stevens. Welcome to the Tombot Spotlight Series. Spotlights are customer interviews that focus on specific health adversities. Today's spotlight is on Alzheimer's and other causes of dementia. There are an estimated 55 million people around the world with dementia. Approximately 60 to 80% of those cases are caused by Alzheimer's. My guest today is Sandy Weeks and her mom and dad. Welcome, Sandy.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Sandy Weeks is a member of the Tombot community. When we reached out to our community, Sandy was kind enough to offer to share her story about her journey with her father, Bob. Sandy, can you please share a little bit about your background and your family's connection to Alzheimer's?
Yes, my name's Sandy. This is my dad, Bob, and mom over here, Barbara. So I'm a daughter to my parents. I also have two sisters. I'm also a registered nurse by training, not currently working at this time. But years ago, I was involved in animal-assisted therapy. So I used to take my golden retriever named Jenny to a nursing home and to a high school with special needs kids. And I know how much that animal-human bond enhances people's lives. So I was very excited to learn about Jenny, your Jenny.
Can you talk a little bit about Bob and what he did during his career and any educational background?
Tell them about your Air Force career.
Well, I was a pilot in the Air Force, and I flew the B-52 and other airplanes, and had some great experiences in Vietnam, and places like that.
So you have a lot of technical training. Did you go to college before becoming a pilot in the Air Force?
Yes, I went to Kent State.
And what did you study at Kent State?
Air transportation.
When you joined the Air Force, did you want to fly the B-52 or other bombers?
No, that just happened.
And how long were you in the Air Force?
20 years.
Did you continue flying after you left the Air Force?
Well, sure. There's an aero club at the air base.
What did you fly after the Air Force?
The Cessna.
And so, Bob, what did you do? What did you do after you left the Air Force?
I taught school. I taught at a university. I taught economics.
So you must be good at math.
Sure. I got that from my dad.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing. Sandy and Barbara, what were some of the earliest indications that you had that Bob might be dealing with something other than normal age-related challenges?
I think we just noticed short-term memory loss, a lot of questions of what day it is, what time it is, just processing, mental processing. And so my mom knew about a gerontology clinic here in Dayton at Wright State University. And so my mom was able to get him an appointment at Wright State, and they started the workup with him. I think that was 2019.
So really recently, about 3 years ago. And Bob got the diagnosis of Alzheimer's at that time, or was it later on?
Well, in writing, they put altered mental status, probable Alzheimer's. I think that's interesting, but that's the medical diagnosis on paper.
How did Bob's mental and physical health needs change over the last 3 years?
Well, physically, he's doing great. He golfs on Mondays, hangs in there for at least 9 holes, sometimes 18. But we know cognition-wise, it's harder and harder to recall things, remember what time we're leaving the house, what we're doing for the day, all the short-term memory things, and processing, um, finances, house, running the house, things like that, we notice have become more difficult.
Yeah, I noticed that with my mother as well. It was actually one of the earliest indications we had was that my mom wasn't able to manage her finances reliably any longer. Lots of bounce checks simply because she forgot to put money in the account or just wrote too many checks. Can you tell me, share with us a little bit about how you're caring for Bob? You mentioned you have two sisters that are part of this equation.
All right. Well, I would say 2 years ago, I was trying to fly. I was still working, so I was flying in on the FMLA leave, and trying to stay for several weeks at a time, and really just we were trying to not leave them alone too long. But a year ago, we knew that we had to have 24-hour coverage. We couldn't leave them alone at night and have gaps in their care. So my sisters and I had a meeting, and we all just looked at the calendar for 2022, and we just had to piece it together like a jigsaw puzzle of when people could leave their families, our own families, and travel to Dayton. And we came up with a calendar, pretty good calendar of what daughter was going to be living here with mom and dad. So there's always three. There's always three people here. And we've done it almost a year now. It'll be in January. It'll be a full year. And we do have a rough draft of our 2023 calendar, where we know what months we're more available to travel.
It's interesting. About 83% of seniors with dementia still live at home and are cared for by an unpaid family member. And that family member is most likely to be a daughter or daughter-in-law. It's interesting that your family really fits into that
Yeah.
mold because the impact isn't just on on the individual who's dealing with Alzheimer's, but also on the family members who step up and care for that person. Now you have formal medical training as an RN. Are your sisters also in the healthcare space?
Well, my older sister's a massage therapist, so that has come in handy with various aches and stressors and things, muscle aches and things. So I have done some teaching on safety. We all seem to have our niche of what we're responsible for. So I would say I'm probably most qualified for the health situation, their health, and all the doctor's appointments and tracking their health, and then safety. Nurses are very well trained in safety. So I probably drive them crazy because I'm always about safety and preventing falls. So we've done a few things around the house to make the house safer, and they're doing great. I think must have been in 2021, we started touring all the assisted living places in town, and we tried our best to be optimistic and positive about moving them out of their home, but it just was not, none of us had that intuition that this was going to be a good decision to move them out of the home they've known since 1974, I believe. And my mom actually had the intuition that it would be the beginning of at least my dad's demise, that he would not do well in a community setting, and mom wouldn't either. So we nixed it, right? She was very happy the day I called her and said, "We're nixing the plan. We're staying in your house." And she was very elated. We were stopping the research of relocating.
It's a very, very difficult decision. I know with my mother, she wanted to stay at home. She wanted, like with Barbara and Bob, she lived in her home for many, many years, actually since 1968, and she absolutely loved it. We were fortunate that the home was a one-story, so we didn't have any stairs that she had to navigate. But we had to make a lot of changes around the home, like you said. We had to make sure that many of the things that she might trip and fall over were removed. Had to improve locks on the doors because my mom was likely to go outside without telling anyone she was going outside. Uh, are there other changes that you needed to make around the house to help make Bob's environment better for him and also safer?
The biggest challenge I had a couple years ago is what I call communication, because this is a big house. It's a big 2-story house with a full basement. So I identified pretty quickly that my mom might need help in the basement, non-emergency or an emergency, either or. But how is she going to communicate that to me if I'm on the 3rd floor? So I invented, I don't think mom has it on right now, but I have these, they're doorbells basically with a magnet on the back. So they push their doorbell and it rings throughout the house. And then we know either one of them need help and we can go find them. So I call it internal communication. It's just here in the house, but it gives me peace of mind that if I'm watching TV in the family room and mom needs me upstairs, she can push the button and then I can go upstairs. So that's helped. And then they do have their medical alert buttons. If we do have to leave them alone, Dad goes to an activity place twice a week. So mom's home alone for an hour or so. So we always make sure they wear their medical alert button that would call 911 if they fell or had an emergency. So with the physical changes, like you said, making sure we've made paths for reducing falls, communication was the next thing.
And you mentioned Bob goes to an activity center a couple of times a week, and he plays golf once a week. As a golfer, I'm a big fan of playing golf just as long as you can. How are these? What were the changes that you had to make in terms of his activities, either reducing them or adding new ones, to create enrichment and to stimulate what he's going through?
Well, the biggest thing is Dad used to drive himself to the golf course, so we had to figure out driving, and so we did that. And then we have certain people that are his buddies that we've talked to that he trusts. He's known them a long time. We trust them, and they'll ride with him. So we just have that extra assurance that somebody's looking out for him. And they love him, and it's quite admirable to watch older men looking out for older men, and realizing the love of golf and doing whatever they can to keep Dad out on the golf course. It's very heartwarming.
This has been wonderful. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like to share, Bob or Barbara or Sandy?
I think every family has to do what's best for them. We respect families that do have to relocate their loved ones to assisted living or a memory care place. We're just thankful that our family was able to pull together and always have a daughter here on duty. We feel like it's maintained their quality of life. I'm sure their longevity, 'cause I don't think they would have done well moving from here. So I think that's our story.
Let's have Mom.
Yeah, we gotta have
She's the
Mom.
greatest.
Mom's our matriarch.
She's the greatest.
And she kept Dad going for many, many years.
Yeah.
Always been.
She's so pretty.
Dad's very complimentary.
Right.
And funny. He adds the humor to the day.
Okay.
And we're just a good team, and we still believe they're in charge. We just support them, and we're happy to be in the home we grew up in.
Well, it's such a wonderful thing to have the family be so close and to be in a situation where you can be of such help to both of your parents, and of course your parents get to be active parts of your life as well. So thank you very much. Sandy, Bob, and Barbara, thank you very much. My guest today has been Sandy Weeks and her parents, Bob and Barbara. On behalf of the entire Tombot team, thank you for watching. For more information on Alzheimer's and dementia, and to learn how you can help us bring Tombot puppies to those people desperately in need, please visit our website at tombot.com. I'm Tom Stevens. Be well.